that holds marriage together or hold any relationship together?
I think it's absolutely crucial. I think it is one of the most important things outside of God that is absolutely necessary.
Oh man, communication is so important, like in any relationship.
I believe that communication is crucial. It's key to a healthy relationship.
Well, that is one of the most important part of a relationship because you have to be able to communicate with one another to be able to get along and to be able to fight through the situations that you may encounter.
The only time that we would have a problem is when I would have my idea and he would have his idea, and we thinking that it's a strong one. I'm thinking mine's is strong, he's thinking that his idea is strong, and he comes to me with his, and I'm not there. So
I would think, first off, if y'all have problems communicating before you get married, your problems are gonna probably go 10 times harder at like when you get married, because for some reason when people get this title of husband or wife, things kind of like the pressure kind of makes them feel like, oh man, everything gotta be perfect.
Being willing to compromise and actually receive what the other person is saying.
To Marriage Works. My name is Tamika West.
And I am Oscar West. And thank you again for joining us. In our last video, we talked about 3 areas where couples, marriages particularly, struggle. And those areas were communication, finances, and sex. Well, today we are talking about communication. I remember we've done premarital sessions with a number of couples, and most of the time they were surprised that most couples actually had problems with communication.
Yes.
Yeah, I think some of them actually thought that it was a problem with their spouse in their marriage, not realizing that all marriages from time to time can actually have communication issues. So let me ask you, do we have problems communicating?
Yes, I do believe that sometimes we do have problems with communicating.
Okay,
in our relationship.
and what do you think? What do you think our issues are?
I think,
or my issues are?
yes,
Is it my
I
issues?
think one of your biggest issues are it's going to be miscommunication. I think I think that you're saying something, and maybe it's just the way that I perceive it, but I'm thinking something totally different from even the way that you're saying it. And so the miscommunication, because I will come back often and say, oh, well, I thought you said this, or I thought you meant this. So miscommunication, definitely. Me thinking that I'm hearing something totally different than what you're saying.
Okay, and is that something more or less that an issue with the way I'm saying it, or the way it's being perceived?
Actually, it could be the way that it's perceived.
Okay.
Okay, that could be one thing. And say, for instance, if I give you an example, if I come home and I tell you, babe, I spent all the money, I'm clearly communicating to you that I spent the money.
But I don't understand that. So I wouldn't understand, because like, how would you spend all the money?
And so I would tell you there is no more money. It's all gone.
So what you're saying is, even though I may not agree with you,
yes, I'm still communicating this with you clearly. You understand?
No. Absolutely not. You spend all the money. In fact, I'm going to go check the account right after we get through doing this. So that was just an example.
That was an example.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah,
Yes.
and look, we do want to deal with communication kind of lightheartedly, but it is one of the major issues that a lot of times may lead to divorce, or for couples that's considering marriage not to even enter the sacred union of marriage. So what do you remember any of the things we shared with some of the couples right before?
Yes.
Since communicating, it kind of stuck you out there on that one?
Yes, you did.
All right.
Okay, so I think that one of the things is that they come in from 2 different backgrounds.
Yes.
You know, and so with that being said, they have 2 different views. They have 2 different ways of even giving information and receiving information.
Correct. Yeah, because just to give you a little more insight on me and my wife, my family, I only have one sibling. I have one brother. And then your family, how many siblings?
7 brothers and sisters.
7 brothers. So it was a lot of talking.
Actually,
No?
6 brothers and
6
sisters.
brothers and
I
sisters.
would be 7. So
You would be
9,
7.
9 in the household.
9 in the
altogether.
house. So that was a lot of
communication.
lot of
going on.
community. So you all were always
So,
talking.
yeah, and quietness
And-
meant to me something's going on with
Right.
you.
But in my home, it was my brother and I.
Right.
Sometimes he like, what you looking at? And I'm like, not you. And right, exactly. And we would just move on, but it was more quiet in the home.
Right.
So where I'm like, why is these people making all this noise when y'all done all that talking? You're looking at me like, what's wrong?
Yeah, why you so
and
quiet?
and right.
Right.
But even your family background, the way that you communicated or didn't communicate with one another, it can lead to ineffective communication. Understanding that it's not a problem with the marriage or
Right,
with your
absolutely.
partner.
Yeah.
It's the difference, and sometimes knowing that there is a difference, it puts you in a position to decide that, hey, listen, we have to work on this area.
Yeah, and I
We
do
have to.
remember sometimes saying, wait, so what you're saying to me is this, and if I can repeat what you're saying back to you, then that would let you know, no, I'm not saying that. Or, if there was a miscommunication, sometimes when you actually repeat what you think that you've heard, that would let you know right there if the person actually received or was able to get that information properly.
Yeah, and one of the other things is to actively listen. Unfortunately, and it's still an issue sometimes for me. I have to completely shut down my thought process
Right.
in order to be able to hear what you're saying.
Right. Because I say, yeah, you're right. Because I remember saying, I already have my next thought in my head. So how am I actually listening
like
to
you just did me.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
I get it.
Because and that part is hard.
Yeah.
Because it means that you have to literally shut down, be quiet, and listen and actively engage in what the person is saying before you respond. Unfortunately, most of the time, and I'm the first one to say I'm guilty about this, is I have to practice listening. And sometimes the way I do this is by repeating what I hear you're saying. So in other words, while your lips even moving, I have to literally say what you're saying, why you are saying it, and that yes. And what it does is it helps me, because what it does is it shuts my mind down from trying to process what I'm going to say next to make sure that I fully understood.
That's good. Yeah, I do like that actively listening.
Yeah.
That's important too.
I tend to tell people is as much as possible, try to remove the distractions.
Distractions?
Yes, try to remove the distractions. Sometimes the distractions can be the television.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be
Cell phones?
absolutely.
Women have the tendency to multitask. So we can actually do several things at one time while we're actively listening.
I don't quite remember what book we had read or which marriage seminar we were actually in, but that actually came up, and it talked about multitasking that sometimes, again, some people can do. And what the lesson was on that is many times, not all males and not all females are like this. Let me just say this, but for the most part, most of the time males weren't multitaskers.
Right.
In other words, like if I'm watching a football game, I literally have to turn my attention away from that game in order to hear what you're saying. Couples can tend to sometimes become frustrated.
Yes.
Become frustrated with one another, because what is perceived as is that when you are talking to me and I'm doing that, whatever other thing I'm doing, you could approach it trying to communicate with me the way that people can communicate with you.
Okay.
In other words, because you can do 5 or 4 things
Right.
at the same time and not miss a beat, because I've seen it happen. you expect me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Things. If I'm doing this one thing, then that's what it is I have to do.
Gotcha, okay.
Now, the other side of that is I have to be careful as well, because then when I'm speaking now with you, because I have to set everything aside, then if you don't set everything aside,
Oh, that may
then now
be.
it may seem as if you're not paying any attention actually
Yeah.
to me. You know, one of the couples that we actually did speak with shared that her husband, spouse, actually did have an issue with it because of this exact same thing,
Okay.
saying you're not listening to me. But because sometimes we do live busy lives, and sometimes you do have to check emails, and you do have to answer texts, whether it's for supervisors or whomever, although she was able to do more than one thing at a time because of the way it was perceived, one of the things she said was, okay, I'm going to, they came up with a system
Okay.
to whereas before I would give you my attention, but before I give you my attention, I have to send this email. So he will wait till that email is sent, or he will wait till that text is sent, so that now you can have my attention.
And sometimes it's good just to ask your partner, is this a good time to talk? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then you'll know if they have to do that one last thing.
Relationships continuously evolve.
Okay.
And if we don't approach it that way, we'll forget that it's always growing. You know, one of the things you could remember me saying is our relationship is either growing together
Yes.
or it's growing further apart, but
Right.
it does not remain stagnant.
And I also remember that you think you've been in a relationship so long till you know that person and every part about that person. Say, for instance, if you were quiet, I would think that something was wrong. But you would say nothing is wrong, you know, so just don't take for granted that you know your spouse so well.
I'm so grateful again that we made it again this far.
Amen.
And I'm going to go and check the account, because the next time we actually come before you and your family, we are going to be talking about another issue, and that's finances.
Finances. Oh,
Finances,
my.
absolutely. Listen, we do want to again invite you to subscribe to our page, also to like us on Facebook, West Development Solutions. I think that's it.
Yes.
All right, until next time, may God bless you, may God keep you. As always, this is our prayer.
When it comes to communication, you have to learn how to listen as much as you talk, and more than you talk. Listen more than you talk.
Never stop learning your partner. Continuously learn and grow together so that you're having effective communication. Learn when to fold, learn when to run, learn when to walk away. I mean, you definitely got to learn each other in order to learn to communicate effectively.
Get it right before you get married. Learn each other's communication style before you get married. Learn what works, learn what doesn't work. So that way when y'all do get married, it's like clockwork.
Well, most of all, you have to be honest with yourself to be able to express yourself to someone you trust. So trust is one of the main things that involved with communication, that you and your partner trust one another and be able to be honest with one another and be truthful.